Call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. The Board of County Commissioners is meeting on January 26th, is being held in person. This meeting may be viewed in person in the BCC chambers or on SGTV, on YouTube, and by registering to participate in the Zoom webinar. Residents can provide public comment in person or by registering to speak on the Seminole County website and the Board of County Commissioners webpage. There you will find a link for the webinar entitled Meeting/Webinar Registration and Helpful Hints. If you are unable to join via computer or online, interested parties should call 407-665-0808 for additional information on how to participate via telephone. We will take public comment on each item as it appears on the agenda. In order to be recognized to speak, if you are using a computer or iPad, you will need to use the raise hand feature, or if calling in on the phone, you will need to press 9. If you are attending the meeting in person, you will be required to wear a mask and social distance. If you do not have a mask, one will be provided for you. Also, please silence all cell phones and electronic devices. So with the meeting called to order, I would ask Pastor Charles Higgins, Jr. of the Westview Baptist Church in Sanford to provide the invocation. Reverend Higgins.
Will you pray with me, please? Gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you right now, Lord, and we thank you for this beautiful and blessed place in which we live. Father, we give thanks for these servants you have provided for us to lead us and guide us. And Father, we pray that as they seek to make decisions for our good and your glory, that they would seek your face, your wisdom, and your heart. Lord, may you be with this meeting today. May you be honored and glorified. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend. Thank you. I'm going to ask Ms. Davis from the DAR to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Davis.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend. Thank you, Ms. Davis. I hope I didn't surprise you.
I knew it.
We now, as is become our custom, and certainly for the information that is valuable, we will have Mr. Alan Harris, our Chief Administrator of Emergency Preparedness, and he will provide a COVID-19 update. He is joining us via online today. So, Alan?
Thank you, Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager, County Attorney, and those viewing in the audience. I appreciate you allowing me to speak to you remotely today from the old Sears store at the Oviedo Mall, where we have started our second dose, ending the program for some individuals' vaccination process. So we're really excited about that. Yesterday we did a soft opening, just like we did a soft opening for first dose back on December 28th to the public, Seminole County being the first point of dispensing open in the state of Florida. And yesterday we began second dose, again, the first to provide second doses to the individuals that had had the first dose back in December. The first also in the state of Florida to complete the vaccination program for those individuals. Want to thank there's just so many people to thank for making this a success here at the Oviedo Mall. We've had a few bumps in the road, but we certainly have learned those lessons. We've benefited from some of those, and now we have a very seamless system out here at the old Sears store. Just to give some numbers real quick on how the county is doing as a whole in COVID, unfortunately, I must report just since the last time that we have met, over 30 fatalities of COVID-19 have come into the community, 35 to be exact. Our total fatality count now is 359 directly related to COVID-19 in our community. And again, 35 just since the last time we met have been reported. Current positivity has gone down. So the holiday spike, which was pretty horrific in numbers, has decreased considerably, and it's getting back to still a very, very high number, but not quite as high as immediately after the holidays. We are currently, the current positivity in the county is 1,723 individuals with COVID-19. Isolated and quarantined in the home is just up a little from that, 1,785, and that adds in the persons that are monitoring due to exposure of individuals with COVID-19. And hospital counts also remain in the triple digits at 115. That was down a little bit from the last time we met, actually 145 when the last time we met, so down 30 individuals, but still continuing to keep our hospitals in yellow and red statuses. So we are certainly doing what we can. We just had a conversation with each of the chief medical officers at each of the hospitals yesterday to see what we could do to support them. And in some cases, some of the hospitals have added additional wings of COVID to take in the medical surge. This is part of their normal planning. So they are continuing this planning and will continue to treat the patients. Thank God there are some treatment programs that are out there right now that are helping with getting people out of the hospital in a more expeditious manner. We are testing, of course. We're continuing to test in assisted living facilities and nursing homes and supporting them. We are testing in 3 assisted living facilities just today, and we are doing that just about every day of the week. We're in an assisted living facility or nursing home doing testing. We are also doing the community-based testing sites, and we have 3 this week. Tomorrow will be another one, and we're doing that in the evening tomorrow, and then in the day on Friday. Our goal, of course, is to continually provide testing throughout the community, so it's a short distance to drive to a community-based testing site somewhere during the week. Our ALS and nursing homes are experiencing an increase, just like we have experienced an increase in the county. 82 residents and 32 staff are COVID positive in assisted living facilities and nursing homes. Infectious disease control measures are being taken place in those facilities that have identified outbreaks, as well as we have gone into those facilities that have outbreaks and vaccinated those that don't have COVID in an attempt to maybe build a little bit of immunity to those additional patients or those additional residents, so that they will have a little bit of immunity in the event that they come in contact with one of the patients that are COVID positive. Again, a lot of the infectious disease control measures are taking place to prevent that from happening. Total vaccinations in the county, we have Seminole County residents vaccinated is currently 30,973. So I want to give a little caveat to that particular number, and that is those that are entered into the Florida SHOTS system. We believe, and when I say we, the Florida Department of Health, Seminole County, and Emergency Management believe it's much more important to vaccinate people than to enter records into Florida SHOTS. Although it is important, it is more important to save lives than to do data entry. So we have done a lot more than that, but in the state, for the state, you will see that our number is 30,973. Realistically, it's actually about 33,973. We have about 3,000 of the records to enter into Florida SHOTS, just data entry. And we are working on those even into the night to get those inputted into the system. It just takes a little while. Each record takes a little bit longer than someone sticking a person in an arm for a vaccination. So again, we didn't want to slow the process of vaccinating to catch up data. We can catch up data later. Vaccinating is much more important to us. We are continuing to provide vaccinations out in the community. Today, we are at the Lake Catherine Heritage Village in the Castleberry area. We were just at East Altamont over the weekend, Palm Valley, Cascade Heights. So we've continued to move around the community to low, fixed, transportation disadvantaged communities, as well as 55-plus communities, vaccinating those in the priority groups, 65 and older, and healthcare workers. Tomorrow we will be in Bunkertown up in the Sanford area, and that will end our first dose of the mobile sites. The following day, we will start going back to the same sites we've been to, providing second dose, closing those vaccination programs for those individuals. We also have a list of about 40 additional churches and faith-based organizations where we, once we get through with the second dose, going back out, as long as vaccine is available, going back out and starting providing mobile at some faith organizations in targeted communities. I want to give a real quick update on the monoclonal, and that is why I'm not with you today. Is just a few moments ago, we did a site visit of a facility where we will hopefully be able to provide monoclonal antibody infusion, which is an amazing treatment for individuals with COVID-19. It has saved numerous lives. This is the same treatment the ex-president received when he had COVID-19. We want to provide that to our residents. Currently, there are some hospital systems that are doing it, but nothing in Seminole County. HCA is doing it at Lake Nona. Advent Health is doing it down at their campus on Princeton in Orange County, and Orlando Health is doing it at their campus on South Orange in Orlando as well. So we wanted to have something here in Seminole County, and we're doing that with our partner True Health, which has helped us a lot with our testing. Now that we're able to provide monoclonal antibody infusion, helping to save lives and prevent people from having to go to the hospital. So more on that a little bit later, but we did our site visit today. Everybody liked it, the Florida Department of Health, Seminole County, True Health, and the Office of Emergency Management. So I believe that we will be able to move forward. As you all know, the state of Florida has issued an executive order. It was through the health department, but it was on Florida residency. So now we are requiring Florida residency for anyone that wants a vaccine here in one of our pods, either the mobile pod or the fixed pod here at Oviedo. So they have to provide some identification of Florida residency. That could be a driver's license, a utility bill, something that shows that they are a resident here of Florida. Now, if they have already entered into the program, so they've already received their first dose, their second dose is already accounted for. It's already been provided to us in most cases, and we're waiting for the remaining to come in. But for the 12,675 individuals that got the first dose of Pfizer and the 8,100 of the Moderna, those individuals are already grandfathered in. Their doses are already here and accounted for and with their name on it. So they will receive the vaccine no matter what. But for any future appointments, the individual has to show Florida residency before receiving a vaccination here in Seminole County. There has been a lot of talk about the new strain of COVID, so we are looking at that very closely. And now we're upward of over 40 cases identified in the state of Florida with this new strain. Early evidence shows that it's not any more lethal, but certainly a lot more contagious. So that is certainly something that the health department, emergency management, EMS, the medical director's office is looking at very closely. I know you have a very long agenda, and I didn't want to take too much of your time, so that'll complete my report, unless anyone has a question. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Alan, very much for the questions. Commissioner Delory.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan, for your, not just your hard work, but your leadership in this, and please thank all your staff. One thing I'd like to ask, if you wouldn't mind, is the future supply of potential vaccines moving forward. Can you discuss that a little bit, please?
Sure. So we have seen a steady decrease in our allotment for the point of dispensing. What we've been told is that some of the vaccine at the state level is being now shipped to other locations. So to Publix Pharmacy being one of the biggest of those. Currently, Publix isn't opened in Seminole County, but we have been told, because we received a reduction in the vaccine that we have been receiving here at the Oviedo Mall and our mobile sites, that Publix is supposed to come online either this week or early next week. So we're anticipating that take place because we received less doses, so those doses went to Publix. So we plan for Publix to open possibly tomorrow with appointments here in Seminole County. Publix can do around 40 appointments a day, according to their pharmacy directors. So it's not quite as many, obviously, as we're doing here, where we can do upwards of 1,000 a day, but it is maybe more convenient to some individuals because they can drive to their neighborhood Publix. So that is one of the challenges, is that there's a little fluctuation there. As far as vaccine coming into the state of Florida, we have not seen an increase for weeks. So this is why there's been shifts, just slight shifts, actually quite considerable shifts in some cases. For us, we went from 12,675. The next week we received 5,850. Next week we received 3,900. And then this week we received 1,900. So yes, that's half again. So we certainly are hoping that the federal goal now of 1 million doses in 100 days, we are certainly hoping that that goal is not only achieved but exceeded. And if that takes place, then we can receive more vaccine here and we can save more lives.
Mr. Chairman, one more question.
Yes.
Alan, I think it's great that there's widening the distribution, which I think is the right thing to do. How would people contact Publix to get a vaccine?
Yeah, so that is certainly something that is maybe a little bit more beneficial to the county offering it than Publix. For Publix, it's only on the web. So if you do not have access to the web, if it's challenging to get on the web, if you're not right there when the appointments come available, it's sold out pretty quickly, just like ours. So ours, of course, we have a switchboard, so people that aren't as computer savvy, they can at least call us and we can get information from them and things like that. Unfortunately, for Publix, it's only online and it's only on Wednesdays. And we've been seeing in other counties, like Palm Beach County's launched theirs, their Publix's, that it's sold out within minutes.
So do you go to the Publix website to register?
That's correct. You can go right to the Publix website, and we'll also have that link as soon as it's available here in Seminole County. We will have a link to Publix on our preparedness website.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Commissioner Hur?
I have 3 very brief points, I promise. So to the crew that does man that switchboard, I have something that I was asked to read into the record. Good morning. What's the best way to give a shout out to the folks taking calls on the Prepare Seminole call-in number? The folks have been awesome, especially Dennis. He provided insight that helped us resolve an issue we had. Thank you. The experience has been fantastic, as funny as that sounds when getting shots, but it is. You should all be very proud of the hard work your team is doing. So that's that. I'd also like to give a shout out to the school district for their vaccine distribution process for the employees that are 65 and older and the retirees. It was really well done, and it was a pleasure to take part as a volunteer in that event. And Alan, shout out to your team for giving good instructions to those of us that didn't do this every day. And then the last one is a request, and that is to those people in the public that have actually had COVID and had the good luck and the good health to survive COVID, I would encourage you to give convalescent plasma. It's not much more difficult than giving blood. You do it through the blood bank, and it is life-saving in terms of the people that really need treatment. I can speak personally to it. I have a family member that has done it. It is not hard. It's a little bit of a bruise, but we should take that for our neighbors. So if you haven't considered doing that and you're out there and you were positive, please, please do that through the blood bank. And that's it, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Hur. Anyone else? Alan, I think I speak for all the commission when I say I have heard nothing but universal support and thanks from the citizens once they have gotten the appointment and have gone down there. Everybody obviously is now trying to get an appointment. I know my office, I know other offices are all doing that, but the fact of the matter is that has even become a more of a smooth operation. But clearly, once they get down to the center, down at the Oviedo Mall, I have heard nothing but thank you, thank you, thank you. And today my mother and stepfather are getting their second shot, so thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that,
I'll look out for them. Can I say one more thing, Chairman?
Please do.
I just want to first thank you so much, Commissioner Herr, and everybody. And there's so many people behind the scenes, but Tish Callahan-Smith, and Kendra Black and the team at the Citizens Information Line is amazing. And there's another person that's amazing too, and that is Erin McJeskey and her team at Graphics. And I know you're going to acknowledge her in a little bit, as she will be incredibly missed here in Seminole County, and the signage that is around this place and that helps people direct them. I mean, it's all her and her team, and I just want to wish her all the best in her retirement.
Thank you very much, Alan. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to the county manager, and Ms. Guillet will provide a COVID relief update for us.
I will be very quick because I don't have a lot to share with you on that front. I didn't prepare a CARES update because we're sort of out of that mode, just reconciling documents on that. I will give you an update on the emergency rental assistance funding that came through in the Consolidated Appropriations Act in December. We are working on getting that up and online. We still are getting guidance from Treasury in drips and drabs, kind of like we did with the CARES Act. They released the legislation, but really didn't have the guidelines for how to administer the funds. We're in constant contact with our neighboring counties because we're all struggling to try to understand this program. What we do know is it is an income qualifying program, and I might have mentioned that to you in our last discussion. It is targeted to, in order to get any funding, you have to be within the 80, your income level has to be 80% of the average mean income for Seminole County, and for a family of 4, that's about $58,000. We have about 63,000 households that fall into that category. The guidance has said that we should give priority to folks that are at 50% AMI. I think we have about 43,000 households that fall within that category. And for your reference, that is for a family of 4, an annual income of $36,000. Because we have to income qualify, there are some guidelines that we have to follow. Tax returns are one of the items that they want us to look at, which is interesting because a lot of folks haven't even gotten their tax information yet. So understanding how we're going to income qualify, they can also provide us with either the other qualifying categories are folks in that income category. There have been folks outside of that income category who have been unemployed for at least 3 months. So they have to provide evidence of either one of those circumstances, and we will be audited on that. So there's a much greater burden on us from a paperwork standpoint to review and approve these applications. So we're trying to set up a system that makes sure that that we're following all of the guidelines. We are again working with Ernst & Young, who is now working with several other counties. We're all in the same situation here. To try to get that stood up. We think that we will have a portal stood up by March 1 with a pre-registration a couple of weeks in advance of that. That's pretty consistent with what we're seeing with other counties. Orange County doesn't have a stand-up date yet. Volusia is going to stand up March 1. Hillsborough is going to stand up March 1. Osceola never finished their CARES Act stuff, so they're still working on their CARES Act funding, and I think they're just going to build on what they're doing there. Everybody's still trying to figure out what they're doing. In the meantime, we have already received the $14 million that we were going to get from the feds. They've already transmitted that money to us. We have 150 households that are in the eviction relief program. As you'll recall, when we were administering the CARES Act, we set up an eviction hotline for folks that were at immediate peril of being evicted, and we were using the CARES Act money that came through the SHIP program because there was more money available there, and we have exhausted that. We've started to work with these folks while we're getting the portal stood up. This 150 families will utilize these funds to start to get them some assistance. So while we're officially standing up the portal, we'll be working with those families to get them squared away. So we're very anxious about not getting money out, but we'll be able to at least work with those families. And I think we've got something. Steve Fussell has been riding hard on Ernst & Young. They originally told us it would take 8 weeks to get a portal stood up, and he's beaten them down to a month, and that's great. But we do want to make sure, because we'll be accountable for all of that money, that we have a system that ensures that we're able to adequately review the applications and get the money to the people that it's really intended to go to. So that's kind of where we are. We continue to talk about it and meet every day to try to get it moving forward. We know how important it is to get funding out to the community, and we're going to work on a system that allows us to get it out there as quickly as we can. As a reminder, this program, in addition to income qualifying, it can be only used for rent and utilities, and it can give up to 12 months assistance. So 3 months prospectively, and then up to 9 months in arrears. In some circumstances, we could add another 3 months, but we're going to start with the 12-month, which is kind of the standard under the program. And there is no cap on a dollar amount. So we'll see. You know, it's not 14 million. I've told you how many households we have. If you're looking at 12 months assistance, it certainly won't cover. We figure we could probably help between 12 and 1,500 families based on what our awards were under the CARES Act program. So we'll be judicious in awarding assistance, but we certainly we want to give folks enough assistance that they get out of the hole, so to speak, so that they're not giving them an inadequate amount to keep them from getting evicted. Really is almost is really not what we're trying to accomplish here. So we'll keep you posted on that. We are also we're also anticipating additional funding. We're hearing what's going on in Washington, and we want to be ready if there is more money coming down the pike. We've looked at what Orange County has used. They have their own platform. They're not using Ernst & Young. They're using a platform called Neighborly. So we're working on maybe getting that embedded into our county or some other platform, so that if there is another assistance package, we can hit the ground running on that. So that's another effort that Steve is heading up for us in anticipation of hopefully additional funding. I never thought that we would be in a situation where additional funding would be a challenge and something that we were a little nervous about, but we know the community needs it, and we want to be ready for it if we get additional funding down the road. So I'm happy to
Questions?
answer any questions.
Yeah. Commissioner Lockhart?
Yeah, thank you so much. Talking about those folks who are in the eviction relief situation, there's always a danger that becomes a cycle if we don't help that family change whatever needs to be changed to either increase their income or change whatever the paradigm is that they're in. Just giving them more money may not be the fix, because we may see them again.
Correct.
I know that's been a challenge that we have had. So just to bring to your awareness, Seminole State College has been tapped as actually the only institution in the state of Florida to partner with the feds on a program called Skill Up. And if there is a way that we could somehow, maybe even as a pilot, have the folks that are in that program coordinate with our partners at Seminole State to get them into the Skill Up program, they could at least look at what certifications they may be eligible for. I mean, it may even be helping them get a GED if they need it. I'm looking at all of our friends from the school board here today and realizing that this cycle that we are in, hopefully it's not a cycle, but the only way that I can foresee us really getting some of these folks out of this pattern is with education in some form of skill that makes them employable. So I would just recommend that we get that communication connected as quickly as possible.
That's great to know, and we'll certainly get the community assistance folks working
Thanks.
with them. Thank you
Appreciate
for
that.
As we reach out, maybe that would be the time as they're coming in and giving them some alternatives.
Right.
Saying, hey, here we are, we're going to give this, but here's some other things that you might want to consider.
I'm sure it cannot be a requirement for the funds. I know that that's never something that we're allowed to do, but it certainly could be highly recommended.
Well, and Allison can tell you, these folks don't want to be in this circumstance, so I'm sure that any opportunity that we can give them to recover from this circumstance, I think will be welcomed.
Any other questions from the commission? All right, we'll move on. I think, yeah, so Commissioner
Before we
Doyle.
move on, we have 4 of the school board members here. Can we introduce them, please?
I think they're all here.
If we have all 5, I'm sorry.
All 5.
Didn't
All
see the
5 of them, please,
Can
stand
we
up.
introduce them, please? Mr. Chairman? We have
Did Karen Allman, please? Abby, go
Abby
ahead.
Sanchez, Amy Pennock, Tina Calderon, Christine Kraus. Thank you
Good
all
to
so
see
much
you
for
all
being
here.
I didn't see Karen. I'm sorry, Karen.
Superintendent Walt Griffin, you've got a whole team here today for something that we're going to do in a few minutes.
I just think it's important that since we have elected officials here, we recognize them in the beginning of the meeting.
Wonderful. Well, that was great. I was going to do that, but first I was going to do something, and so thank you very much, Commissioner. Also, everyone recognizes that we have Desmond Morel as our attorney today. If folks have not heard, our attorney, Brian Applegate's mother, passed away this past weekend. So just have, if we could, a moment of silence for her. Thank you. Thank you very much. And with that, I also wanted to let you all know that we have 4 great proclamations and/or resolutions today. And we're going to start off with Commissioner Herr and the recognition of the Veteran of the Month, Sergeant Philip Cornell.
Yes, Chairman, I have the pleasure of reading into the record the proclamation of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners recognizing First Sergeant Philip Cornell, United States Army, retired, for his outstanding service to the United States and Seminole County. Whereas the brave men and women of our Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Space Force demonstrate a resolute spirit and unmatched selflessness, reminding us there are few things more American than giving of ourselves to make a difference in the lives of others. And whereas, throughout our country's history, generations of service members have answered the call to leave their families, their jobs, and put their futures and even their lives on the line to valiantly defend our nation and its inalienable rights. And whereas for many service members, that sacrifice has ended in permanent injury or death, yet their spirit remains in the continued preservation of our freedoms and the promise of liberty. And whereas today, there are more than 30,000 living veterans in Seminole County who served our nation in times of peace and war. Many of them willingly entered harm's way to fight for our freedoms. By their service, they kept America strong, and they have protected our way of life from tyranny's grip for over 2 centuries. At this moment, men and women of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and Space Force are serving around the world. They represent our resolute dedication to achieving a lasting peace despite the new challenges and threats of the 21st century. Whereas First Sergeant Philip Cornell entered the service in 1987 as an armored crewman. He served in all positions with the tank crew, from tank driver to first sergeant. His operational assignment was a master gunner, training developer, and operations sergeant. Whereas First Sergeant Philip Cornell served with the 1st Infantry Division's 3rd Brigade and Danger Forward Brigade in Stuttgart, Germany. He rode border patrols along the East German border and participated in Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Whereas First Sergeant Philip Cornell deployed for Operation Desert Fox, which led to Operation Iraqi Freedom. He served with the 464 AR Tuskers from 2003 to 2006 for 2 tours in Iraq as a platoon sergeant and military training team member. His platoon participated in the rapid advance through Iraq and final capturing of Saddam Hussein's 4-headed palace in downtown Baghdad. Whereas First Sergeant Philip Cornell awards include the Purple Heart, 1 Oak Leaf Cluster, Bronze Star Medal with 2 Oak Leaf Clusters, Meritorious Service Medal with 3 Oak Leaf Clusters, and an Army Commendation Medal with 4 Oak Leaf Clusters. He is a member of the Audie Murphy Club and holder of the Order of St. George Bronze Medal. Whereas First Sergeant Philip Cornell has worked in the telecommunications industry as a contract engineer and later as an engineer for CenturyLink, he currently serves as a construction project manager in the Central Florida area. He is actively pursuing his master's degree in history at the University of Central Florida. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that we, the Board of County Commissioners of Seminole County, Florida, express our gratitude, admiration, and respect for First Sergeant Philip Cornell, United States Army retired, for his outstanding service to the United States and the residents of Seminole County. Be it further proclaimed that this proclamation be presented to First Sergeant Philip Cornell, United States Army, along with our sincere congratulations and recognition as Seminole County's Veteran of the Month, adopted this 26th day of January, 2021.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes.
As the
First
daughter
Sergeant?
of a Navy World War II veteran, I call you down, and I'm going to shake your hand.
Well, I'm not him. Sorry. I'm Rusty Keeling with Veteran Services.
Super disappointed.
I know. I hate to disappoint you. Yeah, I hate to disappoint you. I hate we have to meet this way, but I got a notice from Sergeant Cornell this morning. He was called out for an emergency this morning, so he sent his regard and unable to accept the on himself, so I'll accept on his behalf and pass it on to him.
That's wonderful.
Would you
Thank you.
please?
I will make a personal meeting with him if he prefers that.
Okay, I'll
If
reach
he's
out to
open
him.
to that, I'll meet with him, we'll take pictures, or he could take pictures alone with it without me.
All right.
But I'd be happy to do that.
Commissioner, what we'll do is, you go ahead and present the resolution, and what we will do is that we will invite him back at the next meeting, and we will do a formal photo and everything else like that, if that would be okay.
Yes, sir.
Would you give
I
him?
will contact him today and let him know that.
And County Manager, will you remember to put that on the agenda? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. And now we have a resolution for the Seminole County Teacher of the Year, and why all our school board members and the school board administrator is here. And Commissioner Zimbauer, you are up.
Thank you, Chairman. It's my pleasure to introduce a resolution of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners recognizing Will Furiosi, Seminole County Public School 2021 Teacher of the Year. Whereas the Florida Teacher of the Year program began in 1967 to honor outstanding classroom teachers, and whereas Florida District Teachers of the Year are recognized as subject matter experts who have demonstrated superior capacity to guide students of all backgrounds and abilities to academic excellence. And whereas the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners joins Seminole County Public Schools in its acknowledgments of the important role that teachers play in the quality of life for students and residents of Seminole County. And whereas, after earning his undergraduate degree in biomedical science from Burnett Honors College, Will Furiosi decided to forego medical school in order to become a teacher. And whereas Will Furiosi, a science teacher at Oviedo High, is a gifted educator who is able to teach every level of student. And whereas Will Furiosi helped retrieve both experimental science and AP biology at Oviedo High School, resulting in countless awards for students and notoriety for the school. And whereas Will Furiosi understands the importance of being a lifelong reader and is the only teacher in Seminole County to teach content area reading chemistry to level 2 readers. And whereas over the last 7 years, more than half the students enrolled in his course achieve a level 3 and higher and make a learning gain. Whereas Will Furiosi is extremely well-versed in the standards and modern teaching strategies that include the Marzano SCPS instructional model, cooperative learning, laboratory techniques, project-based learning, and blended learning. And whereas on Friday, February 7, 2020, Will Furiosi was named Seminole County Public Schools 2021 Teacher of the Year. And whereas Will Furiosi will now compete in Florida's Teacher of the Year program, which culminates in a summer awards program where the state's top teacher is announced. Now therefore be it resolved that the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners does hereby recognize Will Furiosi as the Seminole County Public School Teacher of the Year 2021 and honors him for his dedication to the students of Oviedo High School, adopted this 26th day of January 2021.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes. Will, please come up.
I'll get on this side.
Three, two, one. Thanks, guys.
Mr. Chairman, can we move on to school board members? I was going, yes, thank you. Come on down. It's all right. Come on down. Fox is jumping off.
I know, which one are you in charge of? Everyone take one step this way, a little bit. There we go. All right, ready? We have Dr. Griffin too. Yes.
Where's Dr. Griffin?
Where is he?
Come on down.
All of you. Everybody in the audience, come on.
Come there now.
All right. Now we're ready. All set. Ready? On 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you guys. Oh, wait, Miss
One more picture, guys. The paparazzi.
Not meaning to take over your whole meeting, but just one. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. Congratulations, Will.
So I want to start by thanking the entire county commission for this recognition. It's obviously, to everybody, it's been a very challenging year, and everything's been kind of done in a different order, but it's nice to finally have the opportunity to show how great our school district is, the great stuff that we're doing in the classroom, and then to see it recognized outside of the school district by the county at large. So just want to thank you for taking this time and this moment to recognize us and everybody in the audience who's here to support me as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
If we could invite some of the school board members, if they'd like to say a word on behalf of the Teacher of the Year.
I already see that our Walt Griffin is here.
Never
Walt?
lost for words. Just real quickly, County Commission, thank you as always for supporting our public schools. What you may not realize, we have over 4,500 teachers in Seminole County, and Will represents the great teachers that take care of our students every day. Right now, we have over 65% of our teachers and students teaching face-to-face, and that number is growing every day. I know Will has transitioned to face-to-face, and just want to give a shout-out to those heroes out there who are working every single day, taking care of our students so our citizens can go to work and keep their lives going, and this community is just fantastic, and the support for education is unbelievable. Thank you.
Thank you. Walt, if you could stay there just for 1 second, and any other school board members, if they wish to say anything, please feel free, or if Walt said it all, that would be great. One of the things, Walt, that, and first of all, we know that you're retiring soon, and probably, hopefully, we'll have something for you also, because you've done so much for our school board and for the citizens and students of Seminole County. One of the things I talked to the county manager, and I hope all of you would agree, is that we have had so many team sports from our high schools that have won state championships in this era of COVID. And I would like to see if we could find a way to put together some proclamations for each and every one of them, and in some form or fashion that's safe, recognize them here at the County Commission. I certainly know about the volleyball team, I believe, at Lyman High School. I also know of our football team at Seminole. I was getting there. You guys are all...
I was joining in.
Hey, listen.
I was cheering.
Them against the Cowboys of Osceola County, what a great game, and what a great thought. I think it was 2010, 9, when they won the state championship also.
2008.
8.
Year after I left Seminole High School, just saying.
I remember they bussed all the way up to the state senate, and we recognized them on the floor of the state senate. And that was, I know that they were having fun. They were running around the whole Capitol and enjoying that. But that's not going to happen this year. A lot of things aren't going to happen this year, but maybe, just maybe, if we could come up with something that we could do for all, not just them, but all of our team sports that have won state championships in Seminole County, I think we would love to, or individuals that have won state championships in their various sports.
Yes, certainly, Chairman. And we have a long list. What we're doing this year different is we are going out to the schools individually to recognize the individual state champions and the state champions. So I'll get you a list. And we take it from there. Mike Godrow, who's in the audience here, has arranged all of that because they do deserve recognition. And a shout out to our board for allowing us to continue athletics under safe conditions. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
County Manager, will you coordinate that with them and others? Does that sound like something good?
Absolutely.
Good. Also, I think that just before we move on to the next recognition, I believe that one of our county school board members had a birthday recently. Happy birthday, Karen. Karen Allman, happy birthday. And I don't know if she wants me to say this, in a couple of days, our Commissioner Lockhart is going to have a birthday. So happy birthday to you, too. With that, a recognition that I always enjoy and love having is a proclamation by Commissioner Lockhart on another one of our citizens that have become 100 years young. Commissioner
Centenarian, yes. Commissioners, I'd like to move the following proclamation recognizing Myrtle Mitch Lassiter for her service to the community at 100 years young. And Mitch was not able to be here with us this morning, but she is on the phone, I believe. Did we get that worked out? She's there.
Mitch, yay!
So, Mitch, I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation, and you may not be able to see, but you should know that there are probably 10 or so fellow daughters of the American Revolution here from the Sally Harrison chapter to cheer you on. So this is the proclamation for Mitch. Whereas the population of Americans over the age of 100 is growing as they continue to live active lives and contribute to their communities, and whereas the nationwide centenarian population has grown 65.8% over the past 3 decades, and whereas Florida's seniors add much to our state, their social and economic contributions make Florida a better place to live for all of the state's residents, and whereas Myrtle Mitch Lassiter was born on January 8, 1921, near Kenly, North Carolina, to Ruffin Mitchell and Vega Jane Ingram Mitchell, and whereas Myrtle Mitch Lassiter is a World War II veteran and a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and whereas Mitch Lassiter settled in Florida with her husband Jake Lassiter, an Air Force veteran after living in Japan, Ohio, and Virginia, and whereas Mitch Lassiter continued her service to the community by volunteering with the 4-H Club, creating a Good Neighbor Club, forming the Florida State Society Veterans Committee, and receiving the Homemaker of the Year Award, and whereas Mitch Lassiter has been very involved in the lives of her family, even caring for one of her great-granddaughters until she entered 1st grade. And whereas Mitch Lassiter's many talents include oil painting, charcoal drawing, gardening, and poetry. And whereas, in celebration of Myrtle Mitch Lassiter's 100th birthday, we honor her bravery, dedication, and life of service. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners does hereby recognize Myrtle Mitch Lassiter for her service to the community, along with warm wishes for her continued health and happiness. Adopted this 26th day of January 2021.
Second.
Motion and seconded, discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes. Mitch, if you would like to say a few words, we're also going to ask the Daughters of the American Revolution to please come down, and we will have a photo of them, and anybody else that wants to join us. But first, we would like to get, Mitch, would you like to say anything?
Thank you for this honor. It means so much to be recognized as a veteran, and for the community take a moment to thank me for my community service. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mitch. Commissioners, let's join Commissioner Lockhart down, as well as the Daughters of the American Revolution. Can we get someone on both sides, please? And I'll just get back here. Bob and I always get in the back, as does Jay. Everybody in? You got everybody that wants to be in the picture? Okay.
All righty, all set? All right, ready? On 3, 2, 1.
Congratulations, all. Thank you.
Lee, we've got somebody else doing the investment report. Scott McIntyre's out sick, so I'll give you his name.
Thank you so much for that beautiful tribute. I am honored to accept this proclamation for my friend Mitch Lassiter today. I'm sorry. And Mitch and her daughter Carol could not be here in person, but it is such a blessing they could join us via phone. I'm so happy about that. Mitch has been a longtime member of the Sally Harrison chapter of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution. And on behalf of our chapter and our regent, Sarah White, and our many daughters here today, I thank you for this most kind and very generous tribute to Mitch. Thank you, Commissioner Lockhart and the entire board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mitch, you're still on the phone. Did you want to say anything?
I want to thank you for your time to take care of me and to listen to me.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for your service.
Thank you very much, Mitch. We appreciate it very much. And we love honoring people like yourself that have done so much for this community. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Tommy Dangelman, who accepted the resolution on Mitch's behalf, I believe she's going to deliver it to Mitch and her daughter Carol. And I'm hopeful that through this process, I've learned that Mitch's service records from World War II have been misplaced. And we are putting her family in touch with Rusty Keeling, who is our Veteran Services Officer, to help get those records back to her family so that they can all have that for a wonderful, wonderful memory. So hopefully that will be in the works shortly for them. So we're just thrilled that you could be here to help honor her.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. And the next resolution, which will be done by Commissioner Delory, is not one that we're real happy about, although I'm sure Aaron is. But Commissioner Delory.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the Chairman stated, we wish you well. You definitely deserved it and deserve more for all your hard work. And we have so many phenomenal county employees. But as Alan Harris talked about earlier today, there's so many different threads that Aaron has had in the life of the fabric of this county that it's amazing, all the things that you've done. I'm going to read through them, and this is just a small sampling of all the things. But one of the things that always stands out about you to me is that you're wanting to always take a back seat and never take the limelight. And we've had that discussion privately, and I'm glad that I'm able to read this resolution to give you some limelight here for all the years of services, not just done for the county, but for the community. And you deserve so much more, Aaron. And I'm hoping that this resolution does you justice. And in my opinion, we can go on and talk about all your accomplishments all day long, but which we're not going to do. But this is just a small bit of the things that you've done here in this county, and that you deserve so much more limelight. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Resolution of Seminole County Board of County Commissioners honoring the contributions of Aaron Metchevsky, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, in Seminole County, Florida. Whereas Aaron Metchevsky has began her career in Seminole County government in 1985 as a planning technician, where she digitally mapped future land use and developed maps for the county comprehensive plan. And whereas in 1999, Aaron joined the Administrative Services Department as a senior graphics coordinator. And whereas throughout her years of Seminole County employee, Aaron has laid the foundation for major county design initiatives, including 23 State of the County presentations, 17 county managers' annual reports, 20 years of budget book design, 14 years of employees' newsletters, and 13 comprehensive annual financial report design. And whereas Aaron is also responsible for the logo design and graphic support for Seminole County Centennial Celebration and the Natural Lands 25 years annual anniversary. And whereas during her time in Seminole County, Aaron played an important role in organizing and promoting the Employee Art Show, an event that taken place for more than a decade. Whereas over the many years in public service to our citizens, Aaron has received the County Customer Service Award, 3 county annual award recognitions, including Administrative Services and Community Information Employee of the Year Award, County Team Award. Aaron has also received the Florida Government Communicator Association Silver Award for the State of County Design, Cities and County Communication and Marketing Association Award of Excellence for Annual Report Designs, First Place Crystal Award for Annual Report and Employee Newsletter Design from the Government Communications Association, and the National Association of Counties Information Award of Excellence. And whereas Seminole County Board of County Commissioners wish to express the deepest appreciation of Aaron on behalf of the staff, the citizens of Seminole County, for a dedication to her work, attentiveness for each of the county departments, and commitment to Seminole County for the last 36 years. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of County Commissioners acknowledge and appreciates the services provided by Seminole County by Aaron Metchevsky, and commend her for her outstanding leadership, dedication, and commitment to Seminole County, adopted this 26th day of January 2021.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
If we say no, does that mean she has to stay?
Well, I was going to tell the county manager that, don't we have a moratorium of people leaving until after the COVID-19 emergency is over?
Mr. Chairman, I will tell you, you will be missing her dearly for preparation of State of the County. I will tell you, she was very
Oh, no,
instrumental
she's required to stay until then.
in last year's State of the County. And
Can we call the question, Mr. Chairman?
Well, yes, but we were still, all in favor, say aye. I think we already did.
yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aaron, come on down and join us. Or let us join you.
3, 2, 1. There we go. 3, 2, 1.
Who would like to join us? Come on up. Anybody else, Aaron? Justin. Well, have him do next.
Three, two, one. One more.
If you're a Seminole County employee or anybody else in the audience,
Come on down.
Melanie, can you take the camera?
Okay, sure.
I'll take a picture. Melanie's taller anyway, so Thank you, Melanie. Use the camera. Tell me what button to push. So just hit that one and you don't have to do anything. All right.
Maybe a short friend.
We have a short friend.
All right, you guys tell me when you're ready. I'm gonna start taking. All right, 3 and up?
That's me.
All right. Hopefully I Yeah, sorry about that.
Don't cry, you can make me cry.
Aaron, you could take the, yes, go ahead.
I can't believe it's here, number one.
Neither can we.
I've been behind the camera so many times that it's kind of amazing to be in front of the camera finally. And I'm going to truly miss every one of you. Thank you, commissioners. You are amazing at what you do. I don't know how you do it, but you continue to amaze me. Thank you, Nicole. You also are amazing. And I would say thank you to Bryant, but Desmond, you get the thank you instead. And I work on an amazing team, our community information team. Thank you, guys. You have always been a wonderful support. And the amazing employees that I work with every single day, they deserve the recognition, not me. Not me at all. Your employees are truly amazing, and they made my job easy. And I thank you once again for this great honor. Thank you for just being wonderful.
Thank you.
Aaron, it's a true testament that so many of your fellow employees came here, the people that work with you, to come here to see this today. Congratulations. Anybody else have anything?
Well, it's, again, I would just, thank all the staff, and Aaron especially being so patient with me last year during the state of the county and all the changes that I requested and all the revisions and tweak this, tweak that. Truly a wizard at what she does. Truly is. Just a good core employee, which is going to be deeply missed amongst her co-workers, amongst everybody here at the county. And she's got her fingerprints are literally on a lot of things in this county. If you look at our logo, all the other many things and graphics have got her fingerprints on, so fantastic and good work.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, I want to dovetail on what Commissioner Zimbauer was stating, not just the fingerprints, but he mentioned how you are there all the time. And I can't tell you how many times we change something, and we think it's simple, and yet you have to be there manipulating that computer and that graphics and how you do it. There's a reason why past commissioners have called you the wizard. And it's a very well-deserved title, especially when you took us from the non-digital age to the digital age. And you stepped up, not just 1 foot, but both feet, and jumped in the deep end, and you made it seem seamless. And every time you made it seamless, like, well, that wasn't too hard. Well, yeah, it was. But you just keep on doing what you're doing. It's just amazing. And you truly are that model for what makes this county a great county, not just to live, but to work here. And I can't thank you enough. And the citizens can't thank you enough for what you've done. Thank you.
Sounds like every prior chairman of this board owes Aaron an adult beverage.
At least.
And that's
Some 2 or 3.
You can say the same for the annual reports. I think she's finally got me trained up to where I need to be on those, and so somebody, whoever follows in your footsteps will be grateful, because you got me trained up well.
Congratulations, Aaron.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to the commission. Pursuant to Florida law, the public has the right to be heard in all propositions except when the Board of County Commissioners is acting on administrative or emergency matters or conducting a meeting exempt from Section 286.011. Florida statutes. Public comment time on propositions shall be 3 minutes for individuals and 6 minutes for group representatives. The right to be heard during quasi-judicial hearings is governed by the Florida law. The public will be provided the opportunity to be heard on non-agenda matters at the end of the meeting. Proper decorum will be observed. If members of the public would like to make a comment or are attending the meeting in person, you will be called on first. Using a computer, iPad, or other electronic devices, click to the raise hand feature, and you will be called on next. Lastly, if you have been called on or called in on a telephone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. You will be called on in the order you have raised your hand. County Manager, do you have any changes in the agenda?
Yes, sir. For the record, item number 32, which is the Best Foot Forward grant agreement, we added on to the grant agreement the BAR that's associated with it, so that when you approve that item, you'll be approving the BAR as well.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Hearing the county manager, do we have anybody from the public that would like to comment on any consent items 5 through 47 and the clerk's office 48? Anyone in person? Anyone virtually? Anyone by phone?
No, sir, we have no hands.
Okay, thank you very much. Does the commission wish to withdraw any item to be considered and discussed separately?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull item number 42.
Commissioner Zimbauer asks for item 42. Commissioner Herr?
Item 7.
Item 7. Anyone else?
I got 5, 8, and 43.
5, 8, and 43. Commissioner Lockhart, don't be left out.
I'm covered.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with that, is there a motion on the other items?
So moved.
So that would be a motion for 5 through 47 with the exception of 5, 7, 8, 42, and 43.
That is correct.
Second.
Okay, and there is a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes. Now we'll go down the line. Item 5, and I believe that was Commissioner Delory.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I like the way this was presented. I think it covered a lot of things, but I would like to add one thing. It says that a person has to be deceased. I think it should be a minimum of 1 year after the death. That way, if there's anything negative, it would have come out by then. That's the only thing that I would add. Didn't know how the rest of the board feel.
I'm sorry, I'm hearing. the-
Okay,
Yeah.
the
could we close
fact
that?
check.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate it very much.
So
It's an
in the
automatic.
I'm
packet
not sure
that
I
we
followed that,
In the
Commissioner.
packet that we have,
Yeah.
it says that someone, if we're going to name something after someone, that person has to be deceased. Okay? That's the way I read it. And my point is, I was thinking that since you're not going to know everything right at the person's death because of, you don't know the background totally, and I think that it should be at least 12 months after the person has been deceased.
I think that's only one portion of it.
That's correct. That's what I was getting-
Something can be named after somebody that's still living.
That's not the way, it's not the way I read it.
I think there's flexibility.
Well-
Could you
Flexibility.
point us to the exact spot in the,
Wait a minute, let's do this. County Manager, would you like to give us an overview, or would you have someone else in the audience?
Sure. I'll attempt to answer it. I think that Commissioner Delary is referencing Section E, paragraph 7. It's actually after paragraph 7, where there's a statement that says, generally an asset will not be named after an individual until after his or her death. Naming an asset after a living person will require a unanimous vote of approval by the BCC.
Correct.
Accompanied with a finding that the individual was instrumental in the development and/or acquisition of the asset, and that the individual has an impeccable record both personally and professionally. So is that the
That's the point.
provision that
So
you're?
if it's going to be after someone's death, that's not going to require unanimous, then I think it should be 12 months after. That's all. But I mean, you can do it unanimously prior to someone's death.
Correct, that's my interpretation when it speaks to generally and so on and so forth.
Commissioner, is it more of a concern of doing a background than it is just waiting a year? Because we can put that language in there.
Something's,
I
you
mean,
don't
I
know where it's going to go?
Yeah.
And so my point is,
Yeah.
it would be nice to know if someone is bringing forth something about naming something, that you know more about the person.
And I think that it goes, I think without saying, but I think that might be, as you have indicated, smart to put something in there like there will be after a background, or anybody that's
There
put
needs to
in
be something along
background
those
check.
guidelines, that's all.
Is there something like that in, I don't remember seeing that in there.
There's not a requirement for a background check. We do ask for biographical information. There would be a review of the proposed, but we don't.
And-
Could we
and
put
I'm
some
okay with
language like
but
that?
I'm just trying to get the train of thought. So Commissioner Delary, I guess what I'm asking is, in that hypothetical scenario, your concern would be is that something may come out about a candidate who's being offered to name an
That's
asset that would only come out after their death?
I just want to make sure that there's enough time, that's all.
Okay.
Would you be comfortable with what I have
I'm
suggested?
fine with that, I just want to make sure.
Is everybody okay with, Commissioner Hearn?
I'm actually playing by the rules. It's the new guy. A couple of thoughts. I would not put in the language that we're going to do background checks, because the more prescriptive you are about this, the more restrictive it is in terms of the commission being able to make a decision. But it's written in such a way that we could ask for that at the time of decision-making. The notion of putting in a year wait, I actually would support that, because you can't find everything in background checks these days, and it does put an additional strain on staff to do that. While waiting a year, things will naturally occur.
That's the point.
So if the motion is to add language in here that we would wait a year, I would be supportive of that.
Okay. Anybody else have any other comments on this?
Mr. Chairman, seeing no other comments, I'd like to make the motion to approve and to put a line in there that we would wait 12 months after the person's death,
Is there a second?
if it
Second.
went that route.
There is a motion and second to approve the naming protocol with an amendment that would add a year after, that it would be only a year after their death. Now, that, of course, can be changed with a unanimous vote.
That's
Well,
correct.
and I was going to ask a question to clarify,
Okay.
because right now, the way it's written is, you can name it after somebody who's living. I would assume that you would give that same consideration, the unanimous vote,
For
if
the
you wanted
person
to
who's
waive the 12
deceased.
months.
That's what I just said, I think,
Okay, okay,
and I
just
think
wanna make sure.
everybody's
Is that- I
agreed with
wanna make
that.
sure that that's what it- okay.
That requirement can be waived
Okay,
by
got it.
unanimous vote.
So you're amending
I'm not amending, he is, but yes. The amendment is, I'm trying to clarify the amendment. The amendment is that we approve the naming protocol with with an addition, amendment, that would add a year after the death of an individual. But again, that can be waived just like the one when they're living with the unanimous vote. And is that what you're trying to do? Okay.
That is correct.
And that is okay with the seconder?
It is okay.
Okay. Is there further discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes. We are now on item number 7, and I believe that Commissioner Herr asked for that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a conflict of interest with this. I have the appropriate documentation with it, so I will be abstaining from the vote.
Okay? As we all indicate, Commissioner Herr has a conflict of interest. With that, is there any other discussion on this item 7? Anyone want to make a
Mr. Chairman,
motion?
I make a motion to approve item number 7 as presented to us in the packet.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. With one abstention, Commissioner Herr. Thank you very much. Item number 8, and that's Commissioner Delory.
Yes, 2 items on this, 2 questions on this. One is, in reading this, I come to think that when we were doing the budget for doing the approval of the J.D. Edwards modules, there's a module there of time and entry, and I am still waiting for a response of why we can't use the J.D. Edwards time and entry module instead of buying a new software package.
That's a question, County Manager?
I think Christina.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Teed
it's
up.
Christina.
I actually don't have, it's an IS question. That part I don't know the answer.
And when we sat down and talked, that was the answer I got.
So,
Is there anyone here to answer that question?
yeah, I have not.
I don't see James here, but I think he can probably jump on pretty quickly and give us an answer. Can you give us your second question while we're...
So the second question I have is in pulling the admin code, looking at everything, I also noticed that the county attorney's department doesn't have to follow the admin code, and I'd like to ask the attorney, I've not been able to find your section of the admin code.
Yes, Commissioner, it's my understanding that we do have our own sets of policies and procedures.
I don't remember approving those, and if we can submit those to the board, I'd like to at least see them.
Okay, that's no problem.
Because it clearly says in our admin code that county attorney does not follow our admin code, and I've not been able to find one that you do follow.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Lockhart.
Does this board approve the county manager's policies and procedures?
You don't approve the county manager policies, but the county manager employees are governed by the administrative code that you approve. The county attorney's office is not governed by the administrative code that you approve. But I don't know the status. I have to defer to
And
Desmond
so,
on how that works.
reviewing this item, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I was looking through it, the admin code, and it clearly says, and I forget what section it is, it clearly says that county attorney's offices doesn't follow the admin code, and I've not been able to find one yet. So either we have one for the county attorney's office, or we don't.
Yes, Commissioner, I'll make sure I get back with you on that item.
Okay.
But more importantly, the big issue on this is that I don't know why we're buying a new software when J.D. Edwards time and entry should handle it.
Have we found someone to answer that question?
Looks like James is on.
Good morning.
James is up here, right?
James, please.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, James Gertzos, Chief Information
James,
Officer.
can you talk a little bit slower and a little bit louder, please?
Sure. I'll get closer to the mic. Can you hear me now?
Better.
Okay. Good morning. Regarding Commissioner Delari's question with regards to J.D. Edwards and software, yes, J.D. Edwards has a module for time and attendance, but with regards to the requirements that the county has for mobile work, for allowing field folks to enter their time remotely, for the exceptions that we have with the number of the requirements, we would have to customize J.D. Edwards and make our software unique to Seminole County versus buying a third-party tool. The the committee, which was in partnership with the Clerk of the Courts, Comptroller Office, and Chief Financial Officer, and myself. We reviewed the requirements, and the recommendation in the procurement was to acquire a third-party tool, which is common for many installations of J.D. Edwards.
I'd like to ask
Commissioner Doyle.
I'd like to ask the Clerk of the Court, Mr. Grant Malloy. I don't understand why we would want to buy another program that we still have to enter into our J.D. Edwards. We're still, you have a manual input from what I can understand from that explanation.
Right. I have to get an update on this issue. I know the committee's been meeting, and my understanding is the county payroll is a lot more complex than the clerk payroll.
Okay.
So on our side, we weren't going to use additional add-on software, is my understanding. On the county side, I think the requirements were as described by your staff there, so the additional work was seen that this would make that easier. But,
Mr. Chairman, unless this is time sensitive, I'd like to ask for this to be continued so that I can better understand it.
Commissioner Herr? And then Commissioner Zimbauer.
It is not, so this does fall into my wheelhouse. It is not uncommon that you would use an add-on software for time and attendance. If the time and attendance program that is available, it is a module, it would be an additional cost through J.D. Edwards if we were to use it anyway. If that has to be customized and tying in with an external software package doesn't have to be customized, typically that, and I would ask James to weigh in on that, typically that ends up being less expensive and less labor intensive. And it shouldn't require manual input as long as it's electronically connected to J.D. Edwards. So there's a few questions in there for James and a general statement.
Okay, then I'm going to recognize James, and then after that, Commissioner Zimbauer.
Commissioner Herr is correct, and that is our approach here. We intend to integrate Times Clocks Plus, which is the third-party tool, so that the employees would enter in their time, whether it's remotely or at their desk, their time. The system would understand the work schedule that they have. It would adopt all the rules. Right now, we have a lot of manual processes, as the commission knows, to figure out special overtime pay. This would all be calculated, and then an export would be downloaded into the system, the system of record, which is J.D. Edwards.
and I misspoke there. At Times Clocks Plus, there's been a lot of work done on that. There's already been testing, a lot of work already.
And
So-
the board has already, Lori's going to tell you when you approve.
Okay, hold on for a
procurement of
second.
that.
Let's not everybody start talking at once. Okay, we've heard from our clerk. I see someone coming up to try to answer the, go ahead, please.
Lori Bailey Brown.
Laura.
Resource Management Director. I just wanted to add, before the pandemic, this was in 2019, we did bring forward an action to move forward with Time Clock Plus. We began action then. It really stalled during 2020, but we're picking that up now. So the amendment to the policies is to put in place actions that we began back in 2019 with this electronic process to remove the paper manual process of timekeeping that we have now. Does that help?
Yes. The actual software program, though, was approved by the board.
Yes, it was approved by the board in 2019. I'd have to go back to the original date, but
Okay, thank you. You might want to stay there. Commissioner Zimbauer.
Thank you. Yes, it was approved in 2019. This board discussed it, with the exception of our newest commissioner. And we approved that moving forward, and the discussion was had about the issues with the additional work and the challenges. And the reality is, this is the problem with enterprise software. Enterprise software programs that have multiple modules do some things real good and real efficient, and they do a whole lot of other things inefficient. And that's why, hopefully, I know I've spoken to James, I know that this commission and previous commission have expressed our concerns with the efficiency of many of our software programs, including our web-based programs and so forth. And as I understand it, they've looked and are looking at other possibilities and other suppliers that may be able to come to bring some good things to bear so that our public can interface with us, but also our employees and all of our departments, as well as constitutionals, can efficiently work together and communicate properly. Because quite honestly, starting with Novus on the agenda, going to our website, then going throughout this county and other constitutionals, it's a train wreck. I mean, that's the easiest way I could put it. I mean, if it was my private business, I'd pull the cord and start all over again. But I've come to learn in government it doesn't work quite that quick or that way. But I think we are slowly getting there. So although I understand what Commissioner DeLaure's concerns are, we did in 2019 approve this to move forward, and this is coming back to us, so for what it's worth.
Okay, is there any other comments or questions, or seeing none? What's the pleasure of the board?
The motion to approve item number 8 is presented.
Second.
Motion and seconded, discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Passes 4-1. Okay, we're going to 42, Commissioner Zimbauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 42, which is the purchasing and contracts divisions for the resiliency. Couple things on this one. Those of you that were here, this was something that I was a proponent of last year in getting the county to a place of sustainability, resiliency, and leveraging new technologies for and behalf of all the county facilities and assets. And I'm actually glad and shocked that we actually had so many responses. So many times we get these RFQs and RFPs out and we get 2 people that bid. We had a lot that came in on this one, which I think is fantastic. It's an opportunity. I think our staff has done a pretty darn good job in vetting those candidates and bringing those forward. It does seem, however, to me that we do have a possibility of another side benefit here. It looks like we have the top 5 are within 3 points of each other in scoring. And I think this is such an important matter. I would like to find support against my fellow board members to bring those 5 forward to us for a presentation to the board as a learning experience and understand what those technologies are, which helps us get better informed and understanding what we're really dealing with, and then ultimately be able to pick who we decide may be the best fit for ultimately what we want to do. I think it's pretty rare that we have that many entities in that close proximity to each other. I don't know that I've ever seen that before since I've been on this board. There's usually a considerable difference between the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th place, 6th place, whoever they are. I also would like to find support for an edit to the contract that should be considered under implementation program support. I would like a consideration to add an item or condition. That would be the consultant will not be eligible to be the contractor under the master contract for services or any other such work orders. Basically what that means is the consultant themselves would not be a contractor in implementing and performing those suggested technologies, nor would any of their subsidiaries be eligible to do that.
Let's take care of that one first. Commissioner, County Manager, I thought that in the briefing that was included in there,
That was the intent, and the first line on the scope of services talks about a technology agnostic consultant, so that was the intent. And I talked with David Shields in the County Attorney's Office, and he said that's implicit in the contract, but that certainly we could add language making that explicit in the contract.
So before we go further, does anybody have a concern with adding that to the contract? Seeing none, then that will be part of a motion with an amendment wherever we go. Commissioner DeLore.
Before I get to my statement, so I want to ask the county manager, so you spoke to the legal department. They say it's in our legal right to do that now.
Yes, that it's in, it implicitly says that in the contract now, and there's no problem adding that to the contract.
And if
And in
there's no
fact,
problem adding
David
that-
provided that language.
If there's no problem adding that now, I have no issues with adding it now.
Yeah.
Now for my statement.
Okay, now we're on to the other suggestion of Commissioner Zimbauer, and that is to have presentations. Does anybody else want to? Commissioner Delory.
Chairman, I can tell you that I've been involved in many initiatives like this, and it's important that you actually hear from the different consultants. Technology changes, as we all know, not just a material standpoint, but also in the theoretical standpoint and the practical standpoint. And I, for one, would like to hear the presentations to understand not just their philosophies, but their ideas, so that we can understand what they may be doing or not doing. And I think that is part of the process that we should be involved in, because you're going to learn a lot, because things change constantly. Just look at Tesla. We're not buying a car here, but Tesla, and the way they're charging cars has totally changed over the last 2-3 years. And information and technology is constantly evolving, and it's important that we actually hear from the consultants to see their approach or hear their approach. So I would definitely support that motion.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Lockhart?
Yeah. So I'm just a little concerned that we didn't start out with that end in mind when we went out with this procurement. And I would look to procurement and to the county attorney's office on changing up this at this point. I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with the philosophy of what you've shared, but I'm wondering if I was one of these proposers, why I wasn't told at the beginning of this process that this was going to come to the board for a final decision and be presentations.
Is that a question to the attorney?
Well, it's to procurement and the attorney, because I'm feeling like we're changing the game partway through.
Procurement, I'll give you a shot at it, and then the attorney.
Good morning. My name is Mark Lee Jean-Charles. I believe, ma'am, your question is a question of fairness. So I think that's one thing that the board has to consider, whether it is fair to the vendors who proposed and the vendor who we're recommending the award to. So I would defer to the county manager.
County manager, you would like the county attorney to answer it, or would you like to?
Well,
Mr. Chairman, whenever just recognized.
I'll defer for the legal elements of it, certainly to the county attorney's office. I will, for the board's edification, they have already prepared presentations. They did presentations to staff, so just so you know, it's not something that they would have to do again. Just so you know, they all did have to prepare presentations. There was not any anticipation that they would do a presentation before the board. I'll have to go back. There might be something in the procurement policies that says that there's an under CCNA as well, and David's probably the better one to answer that. I thought I saw him. There he is. As to whether or not that's something that would be a normal expectation.
Desmond, I'll let you refer to David if you wish.
Yes, Commissioner, I think David's present and walking down.
And this is, we're dealing with a technical question here to see if we can even do what Commissioner Zimbauer wants. So let's just everybody understand that. Commissioner Lockhart has asked this question. It's a good question. Go ahead.
David Shields, Senior Assistant County Attorney. I think Commissioner Lockhart's concern is well taken, and rather than make an immediate call on this, I would really like to have a little bit of time to make sure we do the right thing here and not step into something that we may not want to. So my recommendation would be, give me a chance to look into this a little more deeply. But I think the concern is at least well taken.
When you say a chance, are you saying today, or are you saying, are you saying come back at the next meeting?
I could look into it and come back after lunch if you want to, but I don't know if that's, I know we have a pretty big agenda this afternoon.
And let's clarify this. Commissioner Zimbauer, we have not voted on this or anything, so this is not, but I want to be very careful about what you're asking for. Are you asking for all 5? Are you asking for 3? Are you asking for the one that they've recommended to come back?
So yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So clarify with Mr. Shields. So I'm asking for all 5 that were recommended, the top 5 which were recommended. There's only 3-point spread. So I want to need some clarification while we're looking into this. So the recommendation by those reviewers, why are we here to even decide it? If the recommendation from the reviewers is what's going to be taken without our input, this board has the ultimate decision-making power. We could kill it right now and not move forward.
Or we could approve it right now.
Or we could approve it. Or we can ask for additional information. We have that latitude. And Mr. Shields, if that's not the case, then please, by all means, let us know that. But that's not my understanding.
Well,
Mr. Shields, go ahead.
Here's the problem. Yes, you have a lot of latitude, as you've just described. But on the other hand, our normal procedure is we have staff do the evaluations and make a recommendation. And that's how our procedures are geared. And if we deviate from that too much, we might find ourselves with a problem, and that's what I want to avoid.
Sure.
That's why I want to look at it a little bit before I, come down one way or the other.
Right. Yeah, I've read the RFQ pretty closely. I don't see any requirement on not giving additional information or additional briefings or additional presentations, is the reason I'm asking and inquiring. I don't disagree with Commissioner Lockhart that in a manner of fairness that we should follow some reasonable protocol. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think that there's a lot of latitude this board has if we need more information. I just think it's a great learning experience to truly understand, and it's very important for this county moving forward for the next couple of decades.
Commissioner Delory and then Commissioner Herr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in the past, staff has made recommendations, and they've ranked them, and we have in the past gone through there and not taken staff's recommendation. And because we have other reasons why, and we've stated it, because of the points scores are so close. We've done it where time is a factor. There's a lot of things that we've looked at. I see this as one of those issues where if Commissioner Zimbauer and myself, we think we need additional information in hearing from them, I think it's appropriate that we do that. If not, then I'd like to hear from staff on each one of their presentations.
Okay, Commissioner Herr.
My thought for the day is that if this is not time sensitive, that we don't try to bring it back this afternoon and rush this through. As I look at the rankings in the book, in the total column, it's more than a 3-point spread between 1 and 5. It's a 94.5 to an 89.8. And if you look at the difference between 5 and 6, it's slight. So the question for me is not whether we can present or not. If they can present, the question is, how deep do you go? Is it top 3? Is it top 5? Is it greater than that? I think it's a bigger question than we're asking Mr. Shields to rush back and consider.
Mr. Zimbauer?
I think it is somewhat time sensitive now that this board has approved the 5 points. I think that if we're going to move forward with a resiliency program and technology, the contracting has already begun with 5 points, that we should have somebody in the saddle ready to go, working at least side by side with the folks at 5 points, as well as reviewing the other aspects throughout the county, other assets. But I think that probably is a better question to ask for our staff as far as how time sensitive is it on the 5 points deal. Is it better now? Is it better next month? Whatever that case might be.
Okay,
my thought process is, with 5 points already approved and contracted, there may be some desire of a consultant to be working hand in hand with these people.
So, County Manager, is this time sensitive or going to be, could it be done next month?
Why don't we split the difference and we give you an answer at your work session on February 9th instead of waiting?
Okay. Here's let me make a recommendation. Then you all can say yes or go something. Mr. Shields needs to look into this. Let's have him have until, as Commissioner Herr said, until the work session to answer that. If if it's okay, is there a consensus that we listen to more than one of the applicants? Okay, maybe it's not. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Well, if it's time sensitive, I don't know why we would be delaying it further by having to take the time to have presentations come before us, because that couldn't happen until our February meeting anyway. So if there's genuine urgency in moving forward, then we should probably move this item forward today with a vote.
So.
Wait a minute, Commissioner Delory.
The only issue I have with that, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, is that the reason why I want to hear now from staff on each presentation is because each presenter has given their philosophy and their theories and their experience. For me to move forward, this is such a big issue for the next 20, 30, 50 years of this county that we need to understand all those different philosophies of those presenters. And so if we're going to move forward with staff's recommendation, I'd like to hear from staff about the 5 presenters.
Okay, Commissioner Zimbow.
So to clarify, time sensitive, I was not speaking like it has to be done today. I'm speaking in general terms. Time sensitive in government, since I've arrived here, is not a month or 2 months. It's usually 3 to 6. So, it's time sensitive in such a format of the world that I'm living in right now, which is how long it takes government to get moving. I have no problem having a presentation at the next meeting and making a decision at the meeting after that. But I think the sooner the better, all things considered.
So Commissioner Zimbauer has now had 2 opportunities to make his editorial comment about how slow government is today. But again, let me just say, this is something, and Commissioner Zimbauer is correct, he has brought this up, Commissioner Delory has brought this up prior to Commissioner Lockhart and Commissioner Hurin being here, as well as Commissioner Zimbauer. I have been pressing for this for a long time. This is, I think, all of us understand that there is opportunities there, not just financial opportunities, goal opportunities, the opportunity also to set examples. But again, energy is the second highest cost of any business, of any government. And there is an opportunity there for savings as well as doing the right thing. I don't see this as being so time sensitive that if we don't make a decision today, we are missing out. I think this is a consulting. This is going to be a process, and therefore, I am not opposed to coming back, as with Commissioner Delory has indicated, and Commissioner Zimbauer, and hearing all of these organizations. But I would say that, as Commissioner Hur said, where do you end? I think that maybe the top 3, 5 is maybe too many. I think that 3 is good. And again, this is all subject to whether or not Mr. Shields indicates that it is, proper and that we were all right in the process. So let's get that answer in the February work session, and if everything is okay, then we'll set it for the February meeting to have 3 presentations. Is that okay with everybody? Commissioner Zimbauer? That's not a motion. I'm not making motions. I'm just
that staff obviously reach out to those presenters or those applicants to make sure that they're okay. But again, I would prefer to see the top 5 that were ranked. If we're going to rank them and look at them from a perspective of what our staff's already vetted, then I think we should look at those vetted processes that are there.
Okay.
And understand how much time it may take. I don't know if they need 15, 20, I mean, I requested information. I asked it to be shared with my fellow commissioners prior to this meeting. I don't know if everybody had the opportunity to look through it. I've got some questions, which I won't go into here, about the process in which things were vetted. But I think we owe it, this is a huge decision for this county for many, many decades to come. When we're talking about, solar array fields, when we're talking about geothermal things, when we're talking about reclamation of natural gases and all these other things, and so many things that, quite honestly, I've not even heard about that some of these presenters, I understand, presented. I think we owe it to the public, and we owe it to each other on this dais to hear and understand all the technologies from those that were vetted.
Could be
That's
as
my
simple as
opinion.
gardens on the roof. That would say, gardens on the roof. Could be as simple as, like you said, there's so many different things. Okay, we have one commissioner that, if the process is okay, wants to meet with all 5. I'm just going to go down the line. Commissioner Herr, what would you prefer? Let's just see if we got a consensus.
I'm going to defer to legal to give us the right idea of how many we should entertain. I would like not to be in a protest situation. I'll just go on the record with it, because that
Okay.
will slow down the whole process.
Commissioner Delory.
Mr. Chairman, the reason why I wanted all 5 is because there's going to be some things that you're going to hear from each presenter that you're not going to hear from the other people and that's presenting. And I want to make sure that we're going at this to understand all the options and proposed options and that could happen in decades to come. Because you're going to hear about technology from presenter 5 that you may not hear from presenter 1, and vice versa. That's why I want to hear from all 5.
Commissioner Lockhart.
Well, I too would like to wait on the answer from legal, but I'd also would ask that it's our staff who actually did the review process to make the recommendation if we are to do more than one and move forward with presentations, where they would recommend that break being. Is it the top 2, the top 3, the top 5? 5 feels unwieldy to me.
Okay, so as a consensus, I hear that we want to wait for the, analysis of the staff, and we want a recommendation from the staff. So is there a motion to that effect? That we're postponing it today for the work session to have a recommendation from staff, and then at that time, we can come up with consensus to how many. Commissioner Zimbauer?
I just want to make sure that everybody understands we are dealing with an RFQ, not an RFP. Just so everybody's aware of that. So
Okay.
I have no problem supporting legal looking into and getting back with us on February 9th. No problem at all.
With staff having a recommendation on the number that we can, to look at, and we can obviously change that recommendation if we want to. Okay, that's the motion.
I'll second.
And that's a second. Is there discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. So 42 is postponed until the work session to be discussed. Okay. 43, and that, I believe, is that Commissioner Delory.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I appreciate all of staff's hard work on this, but I still haven't gotten some of my questions answered. And I'm going to do the top 2 rankings. It's another RFP. The difference between top position 1 and position 2 is 0.13 points out of 1 to 100. And so then I go to the financial proposal, the fee proposal, and the difference between 1 and 2 is 1.2. And I haven't really seen anything presented to me yet that states, because 0.13 out of 100 is almost dead even, why we should be going with number 1 opposed to number 2, and I'd just like to get some more information. I have not seen that yet.
I can comment on that. I mean, staff isn't advocating 1 over 2, except to the extent that 1 was the highest score.
I understand that, and that's
So just so you know.
why staff's not advocating. That's why I need to know why I would go with 1 over 2 if it's less than 1 point.
Well, somebody has to be the highest score.
Somebody has to.
We're not
Somebody's got to be the winner. Okay.
I'm not disagreeing
So
with you, but I'm not seeing anything in this packet that tells me that yet.
County Manager, do you have any further to say? I have Commissioner Herr that wants to say something.
No.
Then I'm going to go to procurement. Okay, Commissioner Herr?
So this is actually the replacement for the contract that we currently see, right? So this is the Highland contract, if you're asking my opinion.
I'm asking staff because I need some documentation, because in my opinion, it's even. I want some documentation of something that tells me one is better than the number two. I have not seen that yet.
I'll ask your opinion.
And I'm not sure, obviously, I was one person on the committee. We did send the individual scores to all of the commissioners on Friday, so with the comments. So I'm not sure what else we're allowed to provide, but the comments with the each committee member's individual scores were sent to all the commissioners Friday morning.
I've seen the individual scores.
Okay. County manager.
And I will just tell you what the individual scores reflect is that the majority of the review committee felt that the highest scoring team was significantly higher scoring than if you average out all of the scores for all of the evaluation team.
Okay,
I'll let you take what you will from that.
Commissioner Lockhart says that she wants to ask Commissioner Herr. So Commissioner Herr?
So believe it or not, this is actually a fairly service-intensive organization when you're a consultant for this organization. And I don't mean to scare the potential winner away, but it would be important to this organization to have the service team be local, and one is and two is not. It's a South Florida organization. And I can tell you that the skill set of the two is probably equal in some respects. However, the team that's been assigned to number one is top of the line. And so I do think that we're going to be in a difficult budget situation as we go forward, and I think you need local service for your team to be supported, and I think you need some of the best talent in the marketplace in order to bring good ideas forward.
Marc-Louis Jean-Charles, any other comment?
We'll be glad to provide any documentation that's requested to further make the decision.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the commission? Is there a motion?
If I
Go,
could just
Commissioner
make a
Gloria.
statement. And Commissioner Hart, I do appreciate you because I've always believed that Highland was probably one of the best firms I've ever come in contact with.
We did too.
I'm just being honest with you.
Thank you.
And when you weren't on this board, I fully supported Highland. You know that. And I think even though we may have disagreed during a work session, we've always agreed at the end because it's always a learning process. So it's not what you don't know, it's what you don't know that you don't know. And I appreciate Highland for their educational process. In looking at this, and from what I understand from procurement, from what I've heard from Mr. Applegate many times, as well as other staff members, we cannot take local preference into account. And that's what I've heard many times, because that's not in our procurement process. And so with that, then I looked at, because I actually saw that as well, then I looked at FIPA proposal, and the second one is actually better ranking with the FIPA proposal, and that's why I'm looking for something that I can hang my hat on if I can't use geographic location, because I've been told for years that we can't do that.
Geographic location was not used as far as a criteria.
I understand that.
Right.
And so that's why I'm either looking for something in this packet that says someone provides better service or someone provides better fee structure, and I haven't seen that yet.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Zimbauer. Commissioner Zimbauer, go ahead.
A couple things. I'm not so sure about the local, non-local, but I don't think a preference has not been part of any RFP, RFQ that I've reviewed since I've been here. And I think we've heard that many times from our attorneys. But as far as a local presence, and so deferring to Commissioner Herr, the other company that's ranked, not being local, do they have a local presence? Do you know? I mean, in other words, do they have a rep that is local, or are you saying that any assistance has to come out of town? In other words, they couldn't respond quick enough because they're geographically challenged as compared to the other entity who has an office and bodies in close proximity to us? I'm just trying to understand what the difference between
Right.
local or remote or far away versus
Right.
in town, and how that happens. And the benefits of that.
Let's talk about two things.
Commissioner
One-
Herr? Go ahead.
One is the notion of local preference in terms of an RFP. That's different from what I'm referring to as the ability to service you the way you've been accustomed of getting serviced. If you have a team that is not stretched as thin, quite frankly, as the team that we have, and that has long-term planning and can plan meetings well in advance, then somebody coming in from South Florida is not an issue. But that's not the way it works. That is just not the practical application of how it works. So from a service perspective, I would expect that it would be better for the team to have the more than one, to be clear, because it's never one of us that comes to a meeting to wrangle this thing, right? It's a huge budget item. So that's the first part. With regard to the cost, I think the cost evaluation, when I looked at it, is that the number one ranked included additional services in their full cost that were not included in number two.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, so
Okay.
if I may, and I'm just,
Okay, you want to follow up?
I just
on that
want to
question, then
follow
I'm going
up
to go
with
to
Commissioner
Burr.
Burr, because I'm going to consider her expert in this area, because this is what she's done. So if I can just
Since 1987
Right.
here.
So just understand, I think I understand exactly what you're saying is, and I don't want to mischaracterize, nor do I want staff to take this wrong about what I'm about to say, but I think what I'm hearing is, because we don't have a depth of staff in this arena, we require more handling or more assistance from a consultant than we otherwise would had we had more depth on staff in this area.
I don't know that it's more depth, but in general, this organization runs lean on staff.
Oh, understood. No, I
We
got it.
brag about that.
No, absolutely. And that's what I'm getting
We
at.
bragged about that on the campaign trail.
Yes,
So
we
when
do.
you run lean of staff, you lean more on consultants.
Understood.
That means that we're jumping in the car and coming over here more regularly than we do in a lot of
That's what I
other-
wanted to make sure I understood.
Commissioner Delory.
And I can accept that as an explanation, but I've not seen it in this packet. That's why I'm having dialogue. Because then I went to the fee proposal. Out of a perfect score of 30, team number one got 28.8, and team number two got 30. And so it's not the fee proposal, and I'm just going by what's in the packet here. It's the close proximity geographically. I will accept that, but I just needed some dialogue for my fellow commissioners to understand why we're going with number one, when it's almost dead even because it's 0.13 delta between the two. And if you go to the financial piece of it, team number two is ranked 1.2 better than team number one. And I did not get that in any of my presentations. I've asked many questions, and the staff just gave me the score ranking, but no explanation of my questions, and so I want to thank Commissioner Herr for explaining that to me.
Okay, with that, and
Happy to
I
help.
think that's good that we vetted out all of this. Now that we have, is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Makes a motion to approve.
In the spirit of cooperation, I'd like to make a motion to accept staff's recommendation of ranking number one and approve ranking number one as we move forward, as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lockhart. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? 48, Clerk's Office. Anybody?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Commissioner Delory.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Zimbauer. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes. Now we're under the regular consideration of the agenda and the Wekiva Island Paint Out and Spring Fling 2021. And Ms. Robinson will present the item. Ms. Robinson.
Thank you. Mary Robinson, Planning and Development. This is item 49 on your agenda. It's a request for a special event for the Wekiva Island Paint Out and Spring Fling for 2021, located at 1014 Miami Springs Drive. The applicant requested the special event be scheduled for 30 days and extended hours. The dates and times are Sunday, February 21st through Monday, March 22nd. The hours of operation will be Sunday through Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Their typical hours during those days are 8 to 7. So Friday and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., and that is consistent with the time approved in the development order. The application states the estimated attendance is 395 guests at any given time. Performances at the event will be live bands playing indoors and outdoors. Various artists will be painting outside, and the artwork will be exhibited in the art gallery on site. The special event permit in your agenda includes findings and conditions. Staff recommends the Board of County Commission approve the special event permit for the Wekiva Island Paint Out and Spring Fling 2021. Excuse me. Myself or the applicant can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Yes?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Well, thank you. I'll accept that motion, and is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Delory, but the applicant, do they wish to say anything? The applicant has nodded her head no. Does the staff have any addition, County Manager? Is there anybody in the public who wishes to make a comment, either in person or on virtual or on phone? Nobody here in person? Anybody on video or telephone?
I have no hands.
No heads. Just one comment as we are in now discussion. Mary Sue, very quickly, I have heard numerous positive comments about the speed cushions. And no one's here, so congratulations. It seems that this is a lot different than last year at this time. Commissioner Delory?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for the applicant.
Oh, you're in trouble.
No.
Always.
No, I think it's important for the public to, one of the things that this organization does is that there's an auction, as well as some of the proceeds goes to two charitable organizations. Can you explain that a little bit, please?
Well, we invite the artists out, and they come out and paint. So if they sell a painting for $1,000, they receive $500. After all the bills are paid from any printing, T-shirts, advertising, whatever we do, then the two charities, Keep Seminole Beautiful and Wekiva Wilderness Trust, split the difference, split the money.
Do you have any idea how much money has been contributed to both organizations over the time of this event?
Well, I know last year was about $30,000.
Okay.
So it's been probably 18 to 30 every year, kind of increasing. A little worried about this year because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Good
The
work.
only reason I'm asking these questions, Mr. Chairman, because I think it's important that the public understands that even though this is a special event permit, there's also a charitable organization that's giving money back. It's also giving money back to two 501c3s to better the environment, which is Wekiva Wilderness Trust.
And Keep Seminole Beautiful.
Keep Seminole Beautiful. So I want to thank you for doing that.
Good work.
Agreed. And the fact of the matter is, I think that is it not going to be the Wednesday of that week of February 21st that there will be, is that going to be the day of the auction?
Yes.
And then also on Saturday, that Saturday after the Sunday of the 21st of February, that is when you have a number of opportunities to buy art.
Yes, that will be the final day.
Okay, and so, I mean, and again, I think all of us recognize what we had to go through last year, as well as you, as well as the citizens, so we're glad to see that everybody seems to be happier this year.
Yeah, we're taking extra precautions.
Thank you very much. With that, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item, County Manager, you have any report this morning?
Yes, sir.
County Attorney?
No, sir.
Okay. We do have the investment advisor report. I think that I've been told that Mr. Scott McIntyre is ill today. Greg Warner of his staff will be making the presentation, and he promises a very brief one because it has been, as of discussion yesterday, there is not a whole lot to talk about. So, Mr. Warner, are you on the phone?
I am on the phone. Hopefully you can hear me.
We can hear you well. Go right ahead, sir.
Terrific. Okay. Well, I will start with page 1 of the presentation that we have. I believe Mr. Jex is going to have that on the screen for me. And of course, the story continues to be coronavirus and COVID-19, which is driving a lot of the economics in the current marketplace. We have kind of this idea that the virus would be largely contained by the time we get to the summer, largely as a result of the vaccination program that is starting to ramp up now, as well as better weather and some other things. Now, having said that, more recently, we're seeing signs of a more contagious and potentially more fatal or deadly strain of the virus. And so we're starting to see some concerns surrounding that, but still quite hopeful that the vaccine program gets going and gets this thing under control so that in the second half of the year, hopefully we can begin to resume something, more closely resembling a normal life. That remains to be seen. Now, in the meantime, we are seeing some positive signs here. Household net worth actually has reached a record high in 2020, and then again in the third quarter of 2020, and that seems to be continuing. The stock market continues to surge towards record highs. Home prices continue to increase. In fact, real estate appreciation has accounted for about $400 billion of a $3.8 trillion increase in wealth, and stock market gains attributed to another $2.8 trillion. Now, unfortunately, one of the drawbacks here is that only a little over half of Americans own stocks and about 2/3 own homes. So if you're fortunate enough to own stocks and homes, your wealth is likely increasing. If you don't, you're on the other end of the spectrum, and not only that, but you may also be suffering from higher propensity for job losses and so forth. So we are seeing the wealth gap and the wealth divide be exacerbated by the conditions of coronavirus. In terms of the marketplace, I mentioned stocks. All three indexes are at or very near record highs. One of the things that we do have is a massive amount of cash on the sidelines, what we refer to as the M2 money supply, which includes cash and coin in circulation, as well as checking accounts, savings accounts, and money market accounts, has increased by $3.7 trillion, over 25% since the pandemic began, to a record high. And so that's an indication there's a lot of cash on the sidelines. And if we can get things under control with the virus, we expect some of that cash could be released, and it could help propel economic growth in the second half of this year. In the meantime, the virus is weighing on performance in the economy in the fourth quarter, and it looks like that's going to extend here into the first quarter. But again, we do expect things likely to improve later this year. Inflation is somewhat of a wild card for 2021. Right now, inflation remains very well contained. However, as we roll through the year, we are going to see some increases in inflation indicators in the second quarter. And that's largely a result of big price declines that we saw a year ago when the economy was initially shut down last March and April and May. And we saw the price indices fall sharply during that period. And as those declines roll out of the year-over-year comparisons, then we will see headline inflation indicators begin to accelerate. Now, having said that, it appears that that is likely to be more of a return to normal than resumption of a persistent increase in inflationary pressures. So while we do expect some higher indicators in the months ahead, we don't think that that is going to be a permanent increase in inflation. And as a result, we don't expect that the Fed will have to react by tightening monetary policy. And in fact, we believe that the Fed is likely to remain on hold for a very long time into the future. I'll move on to page 2 now. And just take look at a couple of quick economic indicators so that we can move on. But the first one is employment. And the chart here essentially shows that while non-farm payrolls, and this is essentially the number of jobs in the economy, has recovered from its lows, you can see it's sort of plateaued here more recently. And in fact, in the month of December, we actually saw a decline in the number of jobs in the economy. So again, you know, with the resurgence of the coronavirus this winter, we are seeing some impact from that. Again, hopefully we're going to get by that. Now, one of the important things to note here is that, you know, this chart here on the top shows that we're about 10 million jobs shy of where we were last February. But if you consider that during a normal environment, we would have been adding 150,000 to 200,000 jobs per month. We're actually more like 11.5 to 12 million jobs shy of where we would be if we had just continued on a regular growth trend. That, of course, has left the unemployment rate elevated relative to where we were previously. And again, you can see that we've declined sharply from our peaks, but in this bottom table, you can see that that rate of decline has certainly plateaued and evened out. We estimate there's somewhere in the vicinity of 19 to 20 million people who still remain unemployed. And recently, we've seen first-time claims for first-time claims for unemployment benefits have increased a bit. They're now running at a little over 900,000 per week. And just to put that in perspective, that's about 4 times the level we were seeing prior to the pandemic. And it's well above some of the lows that we've reached recently as we've recovered. So again, with coronavirus and COVID spiking here in the winter months and following the holidays, that we are seeing an impact economically. We're seeing more job losses, and that's being reflected in higher initial claims. So we have a lot of work to do on the labor market. Things have gotten better, but we're certainly nowhere near back to normal. I'll turn now to the next page. We'll look at retail sales. And, you know, the key takeaway here is that we've now seen 3 straight months with retail sales negative. So retail sales have declined now for 3 straight months. Again, we saw a strong recovery in the second and third quarter of last year. The fourth quarter, we've seen negative numbers on retail sales. Now, having said that, on a year-over-year comparison, retail sales are still slightly higher than they were a year ago, in fact, up 2.9% versus the year-ago level. And of course, that's been supported by massive government spending and stimulus and support for those unfortunate enough to have lost their jobs. But nonetheless, the more recent trend has been declines in retail sales, and that is going to weigh on economic growth in the fourth quarter, and it appears to be extending here into the first quarter. On the next page, we look at home sales. Home sales have had a remarkable rebound after plunging last spring. But more recently, again, we've seen a plateau, and things have declined a little bit. So the red line is existing home sales, which makes up the bulk of the market and is really the more important indicator. But you can see we've sort of retreated from the peaks there. Now, having said that, you know, we were approaching what would probably be viewed as unsustainable levels. Existing home sales finished the year 2020 the highest since 2006, and they were actually up 5.6% for the year. So if you think about what happened, it's remarkable that home sales, existing home sales, actually finished the year higher, given that the spring selling season was essentially wiped out, and the economy was I mean, I shouldn't use the word decimated, but certainly hit hard by the impacts of coronavirus. That, of course, was offset by record low mortgage rates, which encouraged folks to buy homes. And so, you know, home sales are still doing relatively well, despite the fact that we're coming off the highs. I'll turn now to page 5, and just a quick review of available investment options and the yields on those options. On the top left here, we see U.S. Treasury notes, which essentially from 6 months out to a year, 5 basis points to 12 basis points. So 0.05% up to 0.12%. And even if you go all the way out to 3 years, you're looking at yields less than 20 basis points at 0.19%. Federal agencies, government agency securities, essentially flat versus treasuries. We would expect to see a slight spread, but there's no difference between an agency and a treasury out 12 months. If you go 2 years or 24 months, you're only picking up 1 basis point versus a treasury. In 3 years, only 2 basis points. So normally we would expect to see larger spreads for agency securities, but there's just not much supply, and there's tremendous demand, and of course that has got yields at exceedingly depressed levels. Looking at the right side here, some of your other options include your overnight investment pools, which range in the month of December essentially from about 0.16 in Florida Prime down to 0.06 in Florida Safe, or excuse me, Florida Star. Palm term rates, 6 months at 10 basis points, 1 year, 11 basis points. And I guess the key takeaway here is to understand that most of the things that you can invest in yield somewhere below 0.1%. So we're sitting in a remarkably low yield environment. Turning now to page 6, if we can, this will review some of the recent activity in the portfolio. You did have some maturities in the month of November and December and a couple of CDs. Those CDs at local banks were renewed, but as you can see, the first one there in November was $20 million. The prior rate was 2.6%, and it was reinvested at 0.2%. And then the next one at 2.52% was reinvested at 0.25%. So when you take those things off and add much lower rates, of course, that's going to have an impact on your portfolio yield, and that's something that we continue to see, and I'll demonstrate here in a moment on a future slide. Upcoming maturities, the end of this month, you have a $20 million CD that was at a 187. That will be reinvested for another year, but it will be reinvested at 0.2%. There's another CD that matures in March. We have not addressed that one yet as it's got a ways to go. And then a range of purchases that were made more recently. I won't go through these, but you can see those. And that takes me down to our recommendation. At this time, we'd like to invest an additional $15 million. Those are funds that would come out of Florida Prime. The local government investment pool would be invested into a United States Treasury bill that would mature in June at 0.08%. And really, this is, these are tough conditions in a tough market, but we're actually very concerned that the pool rates are going to continue to slide. And there's been some indications that we could see Treasury bill rates even go negative. Now, that remains to be seen. Obviously, that would be an extreme condition. But nonetheless, we do think there's a less than zero chance that that could happen. And we think that Treasury bill rates below 5 basis points are not out of the question. We continue to want to focus on safety. We're trying to that is always the number one objective in this portfolio. And it's something that we have to focus on very carefully. One of the things that we're trying to do with our portfolios is invest in shorter-term instruments that will mature and be available to be reinvested in the second half of this year. And our hope and our anticipation is that conditions in the economy are a little bit better. Perhaps we've seen some larger inflation prints that put a little bit of upward pressure on yields, and hopefully we'll be reinvesting in the second half of this year at slightly better levels. And so what we will be asking for is that you approve the recommendation to invest $15 million in a U.S. Treasury note or Treasury bill to June of this year, and we expect the yield on that will be somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 basis points.
Thank you very much.
Flipping now to page 7. Yes, sir, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I thought you were through. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just real quickly going to highlight on page 7 here. It shows the proposed strategy, shows the what the portfolio would look like if that was followed. Basically, it shows a reallocation out of Florida Prime and into a U.S. Treasury obligation. It does not have a material impact on the weighted average maturity. It would extend that just slightly, and the average portfolio yield will decline a little bit as well. And then page 8. Just real quickly on page 8, this is a benchmark comparison. It shows the yield on the Seminole County portfolio, and of course it has declined, but as you can see, all the benchmarks have declined at a much faster rate, and the existing investments in the portfolio have helped to slow its decline in yield. We have seen a dip here more recently as a result of some of the maturities and reinvestments at lower yields. And that decline in the portfolio yield, we should expect that that's going to continue. But again, the portfolio is still doing quite a bit better than the benchmarks as a result of the investment activity. And so with that, I'll conclude. And again, we are asking that you make the approval to follow recommendation to invest $15 million in a Treasury bill to June of 2021.
Yes, Commissioner Zimmerman.
I make a motion that we accept the financial advisor's recommendation and adopt said recommendation.
Is there a second? Second. Under discussion, our comptroller yesterday made a very good recommendation in the phone call. Has that been followed? Just wanted to make sure that you're satisfied with that.
Yes, we made an adjustment.
Thank you very much, Grant. And with that in motion, is there anything else, anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much, Greg. Would you please tell Scott that we're thinking of him and hope that he's feeling better?
Yes. I absolutely will. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Be well.
And with that, we're going to recess until 1:30. And thank you very much for a wonderful morning, everyone. Meeting recessed.
Thank you.